Hello. In this lesson, I want you to think about why do people buy art and why do they buy your art? So one of the reasons people buy art is status um, and prestige. Imagine if you've got a Van Gogh or um, or a Renoir or a Picasso hanging on your wall and people visiting. It's the centerpiece of your room. Obviously it doesn't have to be something as well known and expensive as that, but it can. There is a kind of prestige, isn't there, to have art, especially original art on your wall, not just a a print. So that's quite a motivating factor for some people. Um, and going along with this, of course, art has value in itself. Van Gogh, he didn't sell any paintings in his lifetime, but the prices have skyrocketed because of his uniqueness and his, prestige, his reputation and his uniqueness in history. So people buy those paintings because they're so valuable and they will increase in value over time. Uh, so people do invest in art. Um, especially if you become a well-known artist and you're collectible, then your value of your art will increase. Next, nostalgia and memory. We take photos, don't we, to capture a moment and to remember that moment, the emotions in that moment. Wedding photos are a good one for that. But art. Think of why people buy art. I mean, I actually imagine not a photo of a wedding photo, but think of it like a commission for a painting of capturing that moment of a wedding, or dog portraits, things like that. They're all people things do. People like paintings for nostalgia, don't they? And it's slightly different from a photo because it's hand done and it's a way. I mean, in history, of course, people like Titian and Michelangelo. These people they did portraits of people because they didn't have cameras obviously in those days. So wealthy patrons paid the money to capture them all in their glory, as it were. So that's another reason why people buy. And there can be places where people want just to capture that place or that moment where they live or that sort of kind of thing. Ideas and beliefs. So this is an important one actually because your ideas, your beliefs, whether it's political, religious, aesthetic, all the things you value, you will probably subconsciously incorporate in your art. And this is important because actually people with the same kind of values and beliefs will connect with you. They'll get it because art is an emotional language, symbolic language, and sometimes it's quite subconscious. But people can get it, and so they might buy just because they feel aligned with you. They like, know, and trust you. They feel connected with you. That's an important one. Think about what beliefs you have, what ideas you have, what strong aesthetic ideas you have. I have a strong aesthetic of beauty. For me, that's a very strong value. Renoir had a similar, aesthetic. And going along with this as well is the backstory. Don't forget the backstory. Sometimes people, if they hear how the art was created, what went through it can sort of increase its value to them. It increase its meaning to them when they understand what it was that they might identify with the struggle or kind of thing. So that's why it's important to talk about art as well, because it might not be obvious. what the art is about. But if you talk about the backstory, and along with this, actually, I'm just thinking of this as I'm going, actually the title is really important. Think carefully about your titles, because sometimes the titles that people come up with are a bit too trivial, because a title will suggest meaning to a painting. I mean, Picasso, I think it's Marjoli, because he abstracted so far. In the end, the picture he did of his girlfriend, you can't tell it's a woman. You can't tell. It's so abstracted. So the title tells you it's a woman, but you wouldn't know unless he, unless you read the title. So the title is really important for you for your art, actually, I think. And don't stop. Just as a bit of an aside here, but don't stop just at painting the art. Think of how you can leverage the artwork in terms of how you talk about it, etc. And of course, so the feelings and emotions within the painting again, this is subconscious often, but people will get it. The colors you use, the composition techniques, they will connect with the emotion that you have put in the painting, how they're feeling, and people people do, when you look at art, actually, it gives you a strong dopamine rush. So bear that in mind. It's great. I wake up every morning to a little print of Van Gogh's. I forgot what it's called. The harvest is done, and they're just lying out there, the haystack, and it's a lovely yellow and blue color. I quite like waking up. That's the first thing I see in the morning when I wake up. It's a lovely uplifting, that yellow and that blue contrast. So bear that in mind. The feel good factor is that's why people buy art. They just they buy and also that sometimes they buy on an impulse as well, don't they? You just see something and you like it and you buy it. So that's kind of connection, really. If people connect with you and they connect with your art, you are an important part of your of what I call it. You're important. You are just as important as the art, because you're not separate from the art. And actually, if people like you, they're quite likely to like your art as well. So don't shy away, because people like to get to know the artist. Again, that's the thing about the backstory. They like to get to know your story, because it makes the art more meaningful. If for example, I'm particularly focused on music, maybe, but because I'm a composer, but I've been reading the life story of Beethoven, and you can listen to Beethoven without knowing any of the backstory, but actually it does add something to the music, to knowing what was going on when he was composing a particular piece. So again, don't forget your backstory. Just lastly, so decorative and aesthetic. People buy art just to put in their house. Like me, put on my wall, and it adds value, adds aesthetic appeal, doesn't it? It brings beauty into people's world. It gives them a positive uplift. So some people are just sometimes buying art because they've got a space and they want to fill it. So that's why it's quite good to show your art, actually, on a wall, as a picture, because it helps people see, the context of their art in, say, their room. And it might connect with their style as well. If that's come back to ideas and beliefs. If they've got a particular style that they love, what's that kind of art? I forgot what it's called. Gothic art. If they're into that kind of thing, well, if you're doing surrealist stuff, quite niche genres. That could be a market, couldn't it, for certain kinds of people who like that, that's their taste. So it's people like different kinds of art, don't they? They have different tastes. Not everybody likes Van Gogh or Picasso or whatever, or Kandinsky, or whoever it is. And pardon me, just to finish, what you've got to think of as well. So think of your own art. Think, well, what are they connecting with in my art? Why would they buy my art? What values, beliefs are in my art? Think of these things I've just shown you, and think about what is your offer, because art is meeting a need. Okay, so if you can meet a need, if you can solve a problem for them, then you might have a sale. So your offer would be, connecting with them on one of these levels. If they're looking for, they want to invest in art, then there's going to be a slightly different motivation, isn't it, from someone who just wants something to put on the wall somewhere. And the price expectation is going to be different, isn't it, as well? So if you've got this offer, then it's a point of positioning your price to meet the expectations of the person who's possibly going to buy. Anyway, I hope those few thoughts help you think about this. And it's good to just, actually sit down and actually think about your art and think about, well, why people, and actually, think about why people have already, some people might have bought your art already. So that's why it's good to make sure you keep tabs on, well, why did they buy your art? So ask them, why did you buy this art? What was it that made you buy? Because that's very valuable feedback for you. Anyway, hope these few thoughts helped. See you in the next video.